Welcome, folks, to Medfield TV, Eye on Medfield. I'd like to introduce my guest today, Tim Luttazi from the town of Dover. You're kind of wondering why Timmy and I are getting together here in Medfield. Well, Tim's an old friend, and kind of get to know him again for a few cup of coffee at the Blue Moon. And Tim had a lot to do with Medfield. Tim played a lot of baseball here, which a lot of people don't realize that this is before, in the early years of the late 40s and early 50s. So, Timmy, what do you think?
I think there was a lot of fun. We took our games pretty serious in those days, but at the end of it, it was just a laugh, because Medfield always had a stronger team. We never wanted to tell them that, but they did. They always had a stronger team.
Yeah, but now, what were the years that you played there in Medfield?
Well, I got through in 1950. I got through that year. But we played them some of these pickup games too, you know. But Medfield always had a umpire that was on his side because he lived here. So, and then he had a brother that played baseball at the same time. So, you know, you got to take the good with the bad. And it seemed to me we were taking the bad most of the time we played here.
You must have got back at him somehow.
Well, you did. We made everybody so mad in Dover one day because we took such a beating that the bus driver went home with the bus.
He left you at the ball field?
So we left us all at the ball field. So we had to ask some of the people that were there that knew us if they'd give us a ride back to Dover because the bus was long gone. But, you know, gave us something to talk about.
Yeah, when I was at Medfield High School, see, Dover didn't have a high school, and they were going to Needham. And I remember the early 50s, but that was right after you had graduated, probably, and you were working with your brothers. Yeah,
I graduated. Well, I went to service in someplace there. I think it was 55, maybe.
Okay. Yeah, I got out of Medfield in 57, and I went to work with, first I was working summers with Ellis Allen, and that's how I got to know you guys over there. We used to go into the garage, and we'd talk of what was going on there. So a lot of different, there were a lot of guys from Medfield and Dover that, I knew them that way. But what else do you think we had in common, really, in those days, Medfield and Dover?
We had a lot of fun, though. But, you know, mostly everybody in both teams was a worker, you know. Most everybody worked someplace.
Yeah.
And we had quite a few, my brothers had quite a few from Medfield working over there in Dover. Some played ball, some of them didn't.
Yeah.
Some of them talked a good game.
Yeah.
And then others just talked.
So, I never could do that.
Right, Tom.
But we had some fun over there too. I was thinking back and talking to different people that I know and that you know in Dover, and there was that thing, you know, during the war, World War II. My father was covered for Ray Comiskey at the post office.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, he was he used to go over there, and my mother would cover the Harding post office, and my father would go to Dover, and actually he covered for Charles River also when the postmaster there went into the service.
Dover's was a little wooden structure there in the middle, right behind the Gulf Station.
That's right, yeah.
They're both long gone now.
Right, yeah.
You know?
I remember just going over there. My mother would go over there because we only had one car. We'd drop him off and we'd go back and pick him up at the post office there in Dover. So that's where you get to remember seeing people over there. And Ray was a good friend of my father's going back, so there was a lot of camaraderie there. So, and then of course, Carl came on as a patrolman, Carl Sheridan, and I got to know him a little bit, and then I kind of got reintroduced to him, and when during the late 50s, over Natick at the Natick Elks, so he was a member over there. So there were a lot of guys that I got to know.
Well, Ray Comiskey, he played. They had a team too that kind of, I don't know what they were called now, but they were older than all of us. And,
That was the Dover Town team I had. I
that's
think.
right.
Yeah.
Ray played
Yeah.
on that. And Dave Treadwell and his brother Kilburn and Phil Monroe. Did you remember Phil? He was the fire chief at that time.
I knew just him, just a little bit, kind of ready face guy. Yeah, I remember him.
Red
Yeah.
guy, big
Yeah.
guy, carpenter.
Right.
Yeah. So we used to have a lot of fun with them. And then we took our team because we had some for the Dominican Fathers.
Oh yeah.
They had a professional baseball team up there, and they wanted a good team to play them. So we did. We talked them into playing in Dover. They had a field, but it wasn't really structurally built for a ball field, you know. So we brought them down to Dover, Dedham Street, and I think the field is in the same place it was then, the backstop and everything else. But it wasn't the best field, but it was a field good enough to play.
Now, who won that game?
We did.
You did. Do you own who was the umpire of that game?
Well, you know, the good Lord was running that team. You know, we weren't, but we put up a good game, and it was fast pitch baseball.
You tell the folks now you were a catcher too, right?
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
caught everywhere. Then I'm glad I got the practice, because when I went in the army, when I went in the service, I didn't like that KP stuff. So I was complaining about it one night, and my captain was from some place in the North Shore now. He says, "You don't like it, Tim?" And I says, "No, I don't like it." "Well, would you play baseball?" And I said, "Would I play baseball?" I said, "Sure I would." He says, "Well, come on, you can play baseball. And I'll tell you what I'll do. You come on the team." He says, "I'll let you stay another year." Just what I didn't want. But I took it.
That's great. You're a heck of a guy, huh?
I took it because I didn't want the KP.
That's it, the KP. That was a
Yeah.
good one, yeah. Well, I did plenty of KP, so I couldn't play baseball.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun playing baseball in the service.
Yeah.
We had a nice bus all painted up and made it look nice, and you know, we had special hours team, and we had a nice locker room.
Where, did you go all over the country, or did you go
No, we stayed pretty well in Missouri,
Missouri? Yeah.
but then they had a big push in North Carolina, in
North Korea?
North Korea
Yeah,
for help. So they took half my team, half my company,
right,
and I thought I was going there.
Yeah.
Because we all had to pack up. We're going to North Korea. But as luck would have it, I went to Michigan, and I had half the team with me. But we get up there, and we had to build a new ball field because it wasn't much of a ball field. So I complained a little bit about that, and the complaint didn't go too well. But they said you could be playing ball in North Carolina,
Carolina, yeah.
Korea.
North Korea, right.
And I said, yeah, well, we'll get a field built. So I got the field built, and we stayed right there for the rest of my time.
Yeah. Well, you know, a lot of people we haven't really talked about is how Tim's was part of S.E. Luttazi, which was a construction company in Dover, which started by his father, and his brother Phil and Francis continued it with Tim. And of course, unfortunately, his both brothers passed away very young, and Tim continued with the construction company and was very successful. And going back to the people in Medfield, Tim, tell us about how your father hired people in Medfield. He had to go to work for him.
Oh, get down Frary Street, and I don't know the names, but there's still some of the houses, the Guidos.
Yeah.
I can't think of the last name now, but right
Poli?
you're right, next to the Francis Inn, he was in there, and Tony DeFrancisco.
Yeah, on the hill.
Then there was Poli.
Poli, yeah.
Then there was Pucko. He was on
Oh,
the
yeah.
hill there.
Yeah.
And then there was a couple more going out towards the road that takes you up to, there used to be a body shop down there.
Yeah, okay.
And that burned one night.
Yeah,
But
I
there was
know
a
that
couple
one there in the
down
back
there.
of Palumbo's.
There was one man there that didn't have a job, so we put him on, you know. But we had a lot of good people from Medfield, and they all took care of themselves. In other words, if they needed transportation, they had it. You know, they had somebody that drove them back and forth and so forth, and help with the company parties. You know, putting the watermelon in the spring. We had a spring where keep it nice and cold, and with a plug, you know, with some Scotch tape to hold it down, the vodka. But we always had a company party down behind my mother's and father's house.
Yeah, that was on Springdale House?
On Springdale Avenue,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Everything is still there. The garage is still there.
Yeah.
The barn is still there, and everything is just the grape arbor where we used to have some of the cookouts.
Yeah.
You know, that was still there.
Yeah. The people in Medfield, you don't know where Springdale Avenue is. That's right at the center of town, coming from Needham. You'd take the left at the lights there, right at the lights, and then you go down there a little ways, and Tim's garage would be on the left-hand side there. It's still there, and his mother's house is in the front of it. And Timmy lives across the street in his house there. But they really were a long-time residents there, and he used to tell me how a little incident there, how they used to go to church in South Natick.
Yeah, and we had to walk over and walk back. Maybe my mother would bring us over to Natick, and then we'd have to get a ride back because she wouldn't be able to come over because she had my sister in the house. My sister was quite a bit younger, and there was only one car at that time. So we used to have to walk it. Then we saw that we were going to get a church of our own on Walpole Street, Dover. And so we worked like heck to help with the foundation and everything, but the foundation never got built because they changed their mind. They said it wasn't a good place for a church, so they moved it down to Center Street, Dover.
Where it is today. Yeah.
That's where it is today.
Right.
But I guess that was put there because there was a house on top of the hill that was pretty nice, and they thought that'd be a good place for the priest.
Okay, the rectory up on top of the hill.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's great. It's something that, you know, how Dover was a little town, but Tim came from a little town and I came from a little town, Medfield, and there's a lot of camaraderie that we've had through the years, and this kind of reintroduction myself to Tim, and I've really enjoyed it. He does a nice job with the people over there. In fact, in the fire department, that's we didn't touch that at all. This fire department experience, that's something else, and they were always called in on Medfield fires, and versus Medfield would go over to Dover. And tell us a couple there's a bunch of Legionnaires down there cleaning out the bottles of Oh, that stuff. Adult beverages.
the bottles of beverages. So needless to say, we had to stay out of their way, get them out. You know,
Right.
I can almost remember the fellows doing it, but they
I think I can name a few too, but
yeah.
I'll stay off that one.
Yeah, I will too, but that's where they had a big, in years ago, they had the big carnival down there,
Right, yeah,
if I remember correctly,
that's right.
you know.
It was the Grange Field.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then it was the Grange, yeah. And then they built the Little League fields there, and then they built the apartments,
yeah,
the Medfield Gardens, which
Yeah.
are there now. They're now condos. They were apartments in the beginning, yeah.
well, there is condos down there now?
They're all, yeah, they converted that to condos. They do a lot of rentals. Some of them are rental there, but it's still condos.
I know, I tried to get Johnny Kennedy to come up here because, you know, him and Bobby, he's older than Bobby, I guess.
Right, yeah,
And,
he just moved to Medfield.
yeah,
Yeah,
he lived in Dover, now he gave his house to his daughter.
yeah, yeah,
Real nice place where they lived,
yeah,
you know.
right.
But now he says the only thing wrong is the damn train wakes him up,
No, I don't believe that.
you know. I don't know which apartment he's in, but,
Oh, he's got a condo.
oh, is that where it is?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see, what else?
He's a real gentleman,
Oh, John always was, yeah.
real gentleman.
I remember when he went on the state police, you know, and in fact, I went in the service, and I kind of liked John, and I always saw him, you know, in uniform and so on. John was always a little taller than I was, So I get out of the service, and he said, "Why don't you go over to the barracks in Framingham and get a application for the state police?" So here I go. I go over to Framingham, walk in the station. Sergeant looks at me, and who's on duty. He says, "Would you like to? How can I help you?" I said, "I'd like to get an application." He says, "You're not going to be appointed." I said, "Why?" I said, "You got to be 5'9", and I was 5'7". I knew, but just the way he said it, I was kind of aggravated. So I just said, "The heck with it," and I didn't go back. But and I met fellas after that they didn't. They relaxed the height requirements, and that was okay with me. So, but I went on and did other things.
I didn't realize that him and I went in the service together.
Yeah.
They picked us up in Dover Center and took me to Wellesley and left us off there for a bus. And that's about the last time I saw him.
Yeah. That's the draft. That's the draft board, right in Wellesley.
Right
That's
at the
right,
town
yeah.
hall.
Yeah.
Left us off there, you know.
Yeah. The old town hall on.
My mother was home crying, you know, because the baby had gone to service.
Yeah.
She didn't know that my two brothers signed me up. Yeah.
They wanted. You must have been causing a lot of trouble.
Well, a little bit, you know, but they took me in right after the day after Christmas.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The day after Christmas.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah.
But,
Well, you had two great brothers. I'll tell you that. I knew
well,
Phil
I think so
a little
too.
bit, but I didn't know Francis as well. I knew who he was.
I think so too, you
Yeah.
know. He was a good fire chief, Francis.
Yeah.
He was a good deputy ahead of me, but he was a good fire chief, and he treated his men great. He treated my men, for S.C. Luttazi, even when he was too sick. He worked for me though, and he took care of the manpower, and he handled them fine, you know. But it was
Yeah.
getting too bad for him.
Yeah. Well, you're very lucky to have had
Yeah.
two nice brothers, and
Yeah. And I had a cousin who was nothing but trouble with taking labor, taking somebody to give him things to do.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
he didn't mind the bosses giving him a thing, but if
Yeah.
one of the drivers told him to do something, you know, he didn't like that.
That's life.
I know.
Yeah. But
But-
you did a great job with everybody, and I think I know the guys that I knew that worked there was Mike Mills and
Geez, that really upset me, you know, when I was up there to see him. John and I trying to get on the highway here. John and I went up when he was sick in bed, and we thought he'd make it, you know, because we were talking and
yeah.
whatever. And then the next thing I know, they called me and said that he had a problem with one of the trucks. And
Yeah.
I says, well, if he didn't get hurt, now forget about the problem,
Yeah.
you know. And the next thing you know, he had died.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's-
Mike, he was a good kid. No, I've known him since his father was I was very friendly with his father. In fact, his father was very instrumental in me getting my job with the Commonwealth as an appraiser.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was he encouraged me, and I went on between he and Franny Ryan, who was.
I remember Franny Ryan.
Yeah, Franny was an assessor in the town of Brookline.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, and I worked for him for a while, and it was a year actually, and then he encouraged me too. But Mel was the one that get me going on it, and those guys were two tremendous people, and great mentors to me, really.
Well, sometimes I think when they work with a different class of people, they do well too. You know, they do better because it's like an education for them.
Yeah. No.
You know, I
Well,
know
we-
I found that out with my men. If they worked for a builder who'd been around for a while, you know, they learned how they did it, and they'd come back happy.
Yeah.
You know.
A lot of those kids, they really, and probably yourself too, they had a lot of common sense and knew when to, you know, I can't do it, but I know who can do it.
Yeah.
You wouldn't try it and not, you know, you followed up once, that's it.
I know.
That was all
I
you
know.
learned by, you know.
Well, we have to worry about where the money's coming in to pay the payrolls and all that, pay your bills, and so that
Right.
had to enter your grit. And you didn't go home every night at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock. You know, many nights I got home for supper at 8 o'clock, 7:30.
Right.
You know, because we had to get a job out, and we were bidding a job, and I had to get it done that night.
Well, those are things that, boy, a lot of people don't realize what you did do, you know?
I know.
And I know every time I saw those SE Luttazi trucks, they were clean
Oh yeah.
and they were always painted up. They were really, they plowed all of Dover's roads there a while.
Well, you talk to Billy Kingsbury, and he'll tell you about the trucks, keeping them clean and everything.
Billy Kingsbury's our fire chief now. He worked for Tim over there in Dover before he became fire chief.
Yeah. He was a good man, good driver. We sent him to Mac school right after he got married, and we sent him down to Mac school in Pennsylvania. And we laughed when he went, but it wasn't funny because, you know, they didn't even have a honeymoon, a couple of weeks, that's all. But he got down there and brought back a great education. And he went back again. The phone bill was something else when Bill got through, I'll tell you. But we just laughed about it. My brother Phil was the one that sent him down, so we just laughed.
Well, that was, you know, that's getting back to those guys were, you know, they gave these kids all kinds of opportunities, and
Yeah,
the smart ones took advantage of it.
yeah.
They learned, and they went on from there. Yeah, so there's been a lot of successes between Dover and Medfield that had happened, and you know, luckily young fellows took advantage of it.
Well, I think a lot of it too is we get to know each other better than just somebody from Medfield's working for us or somebody from Dover's doing it. You know, we took advantage of knowing somebody, learning some of the shortcuts and how to do things, and am I doing it right? You know, because I can remember years ago we used to come over here and learn from Dana Weicker, because he was a smart man, Richie's father.
Right. Yeah.
And he
They had the road grader.
Right. He'd come to
And-
Dover and they'd teach us how to do things, you know, and how to
Mhm.
use too much material and how not to have too much material wasted and things like that.
A lot of people don't realize that Dana Weicker, he had a road grader. And in the old days, Medfield, the dirt roads especially, they did grade Pine Street all the way to the Dover line. And between Tim hauling gravel for Dana and Dana grading, running the grader, they would grade the whole road up there. And which I didn't realize, the fellow that owned the estate up there on Pine Street, which was our friend, what was his name again?
Charlie Wood or Suffolk Downs?
Yes, oh yeah, Suffolk Downs.
Wilson.
Wilson. And Wilson had a man that worked with him too, and he had a big truck over there, and he would haul gravel also.
Yeah.
And then Dana would do the grading. So there were a lot of things that these guys really,
It was the same way if we got a lot of snow.
Yeah.
Pine Street, we could always figure on somebody from Suffolk Downs. They'd have a big tractor there, and they'd send it down Pine Street, or they'd send it down so it'd come down Center Street. So we worked back and forth with equipment. I can remember plowing Medfield, plowing North Street, plowing 109 for us, Route 109. And
Right.
They
Yeah.
go right over the border. Didn't
Right.
make any difference.
Right,
You
yeah.
know?
Those days you couldn't turn around.
I know, I know,
You had to keep going,
I know.
especially in the 40s there with no storms there.
We didn't have any town water, you know, in Dover at all. And if you needed water, we had to come to Medfield to get it, you know. And that
Yeah.
was kind of important. If you have a good road, you want to have it some water for the roller,
Yeah.
you know.
These are the things that, you know, again, the cooperation between the two superintendent of streets, actually, with Bill McCarthy and Phil Luttazi, Timmy's brother. There was always cooperation between the two towns, and they completed a lot of tasks together. And of course, I think they kept the costs down too.
Yeah,
you
I think Billy went first. I think he passed away first. I'm
Yeah.
not sure. And then Philip went after him.
Right.
And then Francis came, he went 10 years later after Phil. But by that time, if I didn't know what was going on, I was a problem because I had to have my education put away, you know.
You had an education, that's for sure.
Yeah, I did. I was lucky.
Yeah.
Because years ago when Philip would go up to see Billy, I'd usually go with him, you know, because I would goofing off from the yard. I wanted to get out of the work and go up to see Billy. And a lot of times we stayed, we'd have a cup of coffee down here somewhere on Sunday.
On the Medfield coffee shop there?
I don't know, was that right?
On the left-hand side over the tracks?
It was going towards,
Millis?
no, going the other way. It was right in the square here on Main Street.
Oh, in Lords.
Must have been Lords.
Yeah.
There was,
Right across from
we'd
town
go in there
hall.
and have a,
Yeah.
usually on Sunday morning, we'd go in for a cup of
Yeah,
coffee.
right. Yeah, Billy go in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he had quite an education.
Oh, Billy was, yeah.
Yeah, quite an education.
Yeah, yeah, he was. Billy had quite a career.
Yeah.
Yeah, I missed him tremendously. I wish I listened to him more myself.
Things that he did right,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. What do you think? Anything else we can get into, Tim?
No. I can't say I'm going to do anything wrong in the future.
Oh, I'm not going to say that either.
You know, if I do something wrong now, it's my own fault.
Well, listen, I appreciate you coming, and it's been great talking to you. And hopefully sometime again, maybe we'll get the Chief Sheridan down here, and we'll talk the same thing. And maybe if you got some time, come on back
I'm just
down.
a little bit concerned. I know Medfield left us behind. They wouldn't let anybody give us a bus ride home after the game. We lost so bad, and I'm afraid you're not going to give me a ride back in your car.
Well, I'm going to give you a ride, do I say now, maybe to the top of the hill and over by the Hunt Club. Oh, we'll get you home. Don't worry about that. Well, folks, until next time, take care of each other. This is Tom Sweeney, Medfield TV, Eye on Medfield.
Hi, this is Pete Peterson. You are watching Medfield.tv.
Production support provided by Medfield.tv. Access to our community.